let's go ahead and put to bed this idea that your deity God, this El Yahweh, did not lie to Adam when he said that you will die in the day that you ate from the tree of good and evil, tree of knowledge of good and evil, because the term used there is the Hebrew word yum. Now, one of the first things that people will run to is they will say that yum is not always interpreted as a 24-hour. It could be used in term of an age. He says that in Genesis 1:5, light was called day and darkness night. So young can be interpreted as an age. Well, this is wholly untrue because they like to run to 2 Peter 3:28, where it says that one day with the Lord is like 1,000 years unto man, demonstrating that this deity he's outside of time. And it is a similarity, not an exact. But since people like to use that to stretch it out to mean a long time because they want to negotiate this lie that was told to Adam to fit the deity of this book. But when you're talking about Genesis, you cannot compare the Hebrew Aramaic writing compared to the Greek writing. You can't take a Hebrew word and then look at a Greek word and then try to merge them and force them to fit together. So that's one of the first problems that you're going to run into with this. And when you look at something like Psalms 90, where it talks about a time frame of a watch, and they use the term yom, where it says 1,000 years to your sight are but a yesterday when it is past. That a watch of the or as the watch in the night. The watch in the night is 3 hours. It's simply that. It's a 3-hour time frame. These are the bewitching hours of the watch. Because that's what the time frame of evil spirits and things of that nature was thought to believe to come out. But also, if you use that type of math and say that 1,000 years to God is like one day to man, one day to man is 1,000 years to God, then this is where some people are trying to take that and say that, well, God is still within the Sabbath day, because those multiply out to be 7,000 years. And since the time frame of Adam would go back to 630 some odd years from today, then this would mean that for the last 600 and some odd years, man should be in a perpetual Sabbath where we are not working, because the Sabbath day was given as a day of rest. But we know that that is illogical and does not fit. It does not fit the context of the book, nor what it's trying to say. It was really speaking on the fact of this deity's supposed patience with man, in that he has that amount of patience, and that man was still, but this deity is still working, according to this book, is still working with man, as we see throughout this Bible. Now, he also talked about how that there was the sun and the moon weren't created until the fourth day, so that there was a differentiation of time because evening and night. But remember, according to your book, especially in Revelations 21:23, it says, and the city has no need of sun or moon to shine on it, for the glory of God gives it light, and its lamps is a lamp. So your deity itself is the one that provides the light. But in Genesis 1:5, in that saying, he says he separated the day and the night, demonstrating that it already existed as far as a given and set time frame between the daytime and the nighttime, and this deity was the one that provided the light. Revelation 22:5 said, and night will be no more. They will need no light or lamp or sun, for the Lord will be their light, and will reign forever and ever. So in Genesis, you don't require a sun and moon, according to your book, for there to be day and evening, because your deity in all its glory is supposed to be this light. Now, let's add a little bit more to it, because there is certain life that cannot exist without sunlight. And if you were using your age example, when the flora and fauna were created, we know that they cannot exist for 1,000 years without pollination, without there being sunlight, because and the darkness would also have been an age of time. And we know that according to this book, the earth rotation of the earth was created and began by the fourth day. So that rotation of the earth without pollination, without sunlight, going long periods of time, maybe a few days is okay, but going weeks and years and years and years and years without sunlight, the flora and fauna that was supposedly created on the fourth day would have all died out. Now, when we look at the actual language that was used in Genesis 1, uh, the Hebrew construction of the word yom with the idiom attached to it would be when. This is why there are translations, and most translation will say this is the generation of the heavens and the earth when they were created, in the day that when the Lord made the earth and the heavens. It's emphasizing an instant moment, is emphasizing a specific time frame. So Yom, again, in Genesis, to which the Adam story is in Genesis as well. We're talking about Genesis chapter 2 and chapter 3. It is in that day when it happened, not an extended period of time. The rotation of the earth is already there. Your deity has already established day and night to be a 24-hour cycle with the rotation. Now, with that rotation of the earth, it is already established that one day is a 24-hour cycle by the time we actually get to the creation of Adam and Eve and them eating from the tree, because with the sun and the moon in its proper place, with the rotation of the earth, with the fauna and flora requiring the same cycle of day and night, when Adam and Eve come onto the scene, these things have already been established. So within the context of speaking of one day, it is a 24-hour period. Now, does it carry that meaning later in other books? Yes. But in Genesis, the context of it, and y'all always try and tell me I got to read it in context, it is one day, the evening, the day and the evening, and that was it. The evening, the night, 24 hours, a normal day cycle is the context of the entire thought process concerning this. This is also something that when you look at Exodus 31:18, it is definitely invoked and solidified in that there are precise time intervals that define the motions of all celestial bodies, uh, not so that as a pattern of the week, which comes from your Bible. This is just not the inspired word, but this is also supposed to be the inscribed word of your deity when you look at Exodus 31:18. So although it can mean long periods of time in other readings outside of Genesis, but as far as Genesis is concerned, it only has that meaning of a 24-hour period. Lastly, where the problem comes in is that when you try to take what Genesis 1 and 2 and 3 are saying in concern as far as a 24-hour cycle, and say that is all allegory or is some type of poetry, you are now opening up the opportunity, and this is what you have here, opening up the opportunity for a person to make it fit whatever they desire for it to fit at any time frame. Because the one day of Adam, that Adam didn't die in the day that he ate from the tree and lived 900 years, now you have to renegotiate that back, and you can make it fit by disqualifying the entire story to say it's just an allegory or it didn't have it was poetry written at that time frame. But because you're doing that, you negate the validity of your book, because every group, every person can now change it to make it fit their own narrative based on how the culture has moved from 1,000 years ago to today. But in order for you to truly understand this, in order for you to truly let go, you have to just recognize that it is what it is. It's telling you that it's a 24-hour day, and you want to change it because you're holding on to this book for dear life, but that holding does not validate what it actually says and actually is trying to teach you, and shows that it's a contradiction and that this deity lied to Adam when he said that he would die in the yom of that he eats from the tree of good and evil. So remember, you have to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. The journey